Welcome to our executive video interview series here at the Google Public Sector Forum, presented by Scoop News Group. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and joining us to talk about cybersecurity today is Dave Dalling. Dave is Cyber Chief Technology Officer at Accenture Federal Services, and also joining us is Ron Bushar, Head of Mandiant Government Solutions, Google Public Sector. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And Dave, I'm going to start out with you. Talk a little about how some of the changes that you're seeing happening in security across the federal government are really starting to unfold.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're at an age where technology is changing rapidly, and we're understanding that there's more and more that we have to work together with the vendors and with other agencies and the corporate companies and things like that, and really understanding that cyber is bigger than just individually in a micro, and we have to really look at the macro scale and really think about the supply chain. And so as we're going through and working with the federal government, we're realizing that individual groups are impacted by other people, right? And we're understanding who has responsibilities over what, and really having to really think through our approach and really transform how we used to do technology, how we used to do security, and really think like, what is that next level? And so that's what I'm seeing is, we are growing faster than we know what to do, right? Especially with security, right? We're coming out with AI, for example. How do you secure AI? There's AI attacks, or there's attacks against AI. And these are things that we get excited about, this new technology, and we grow and we adapt and we grab it, but how do we really secure that? And that's really, we have to really think through. And one of the things that the government's done great is adding regulatory and adding things around security. And Ron, I know you had some good insights on security and regulatory.
Yeah, Dave, I appreciate that. And I agree. I mean, we're in a really unique time in place in terms of technology acceleration, but with that comes a lot of risk, right? So the way I look at it is, there was a first cloud revolution happened about 10 years ago where a lot of government started to move out of traditional data centers into cloud infrastructure. I think what happened along that journey was a lot of benefits, but also the regime that the government thought about how to control risks in those environments did not keep up. So the traditional model of security controls and NIST 800 standards didn't move into a model that accounted for the complexity that Dave was just talking about from a software supply chain, hardware supply chain, risk management. So we saw a number of attacks, very damaging attacks that our adversaries were able to perpetrate against national security interests because of that weakness, right? So we saw SolarWinds, we saw implants being embedded inside of software that most governments were using. They didn't even understand that they were using it and what it could be leveraged. Then you had something like Log4j, where you have open source software libraries that were at risk, that the government, again, and customers didn't really have a handle on and understand what that attack surface looked like. So now we're in this second epoch, I would say, of modernization and thinking about Cloud 2.0 and what that really needs to look like. And the government is just now, as they usually are, a little bit more conservative, take a little bit more time to think about it. But you see executive orders coming out now that have to do with supply chain security and risk management, having to do with know your customer, know your vendor, know who's supplying you with technology and where it's coming from, and that you can attest to its baseline security. You're seeing initiatives around secure by design and default, not just let's tack security on later, we'll worry about that as a secondary problem. No, you have to purchase and procure in a secure way from the outset. So as you look at transforming into new versions of cloud infrastructure that have the benefits that Dave described, like artificial intelligence, analytics, big data capabilities, you have to really think about how you're building solutions around a core with security already built in. And that's something that at Google we have the advantage of coming in a little bit later and seeing where the flaws were and building around and architecting and designing essentially on the foundation of what Google's done forever for 25 years, but building cloud in a different way that we think will ultimately achieve faster, better, more secure outcomes for our government customers in the short to medium term.
Well, you both make a great point of it. It's always a challenge for policy to keep up with the technology because the technology keeps unraveling and expanding so quickly, and particularly in this distributed environment. Certainly one of the good things to see with the zero trust strategy trying to be implemented to adopt to a cloud environment.
Exactly right.
Let me ask you this. So how do you see cybersecurity also being used to deliver better mission outcomes?
Yeah, so I'll start with that one. So, for a long time, again, security was seen as kind of this add-on thought process around, okay, well, when an adversary does go after us, then maybe now we should think about security and what to do about it. I think when you talk to any national security agency or anybody really who's providing mission outcomes or citizen outcomes, forefront in the mind now, and Thomas and Karen talked about this in the keynote, is that's all great, but how are you going to make sure it's secure, right? I can't have my data, my citizen data leaking out there. I can't have my systems go down during a crisis. I have to have these things available to me 24/7 when I'm operating a mission. So the way I equate it is, security allows the mission to go faster. So it's like the brakes on your car. You can drive really fast in a high performance car, but without brakes, you're not really going to feel comfortable going much above 5 miles an hour. With this good set of brakes and a lot of safety equipment, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable accelerating that car down the road and achieving, getting to your goal much more quickly. So we really think about security now as built into the system. It's got to be table stakes for any sort of transformation that you're looking at from a government mission perspective. And as you're building and thinking about these new capabilities, you have to have that assurance of security in order to move quickly and get ahead of our threats and adversaries. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm seeing that there's a really good convergence when it comes from the public sector to the industry and into the ecosystem partners, and really developing the ecosystem, that secure environment, right? Our goal is to make sure that people they know what their mission is and they can focus on their mission without really focusing on the security around it. And that's where, like, with Google really coming in and helping out and having an entire IL5 environment, right, that is built around 800.171 and built around 853, built around all of the EOs and the memos coming out. And when those come out, the industry and the ecosystem partners like Google are working together to develop those so that, the federal government or, customers don't necessarily have to worry about the security because we're handling that for them, right? We're taking the best of Zero Trust and implementing it into those architectures and really bringing that security to your workload, to your data, where you can maximize the capabilities of those ecosystems without having to really focus on that. And I think that it actually is becoming that next wave. It used to be security was the hindrance. It's stopping me from my mission. Now I think it's the exact opposite, right? It is single sign-on, right? Better encryption, better authentication, better connection, right? All of these things are now security by design and security by default instead of after the fact. We usually bring security in at the very end of the process. It's now in the beginning of the process, and we're doing that with the mission in mind. And so we're securing it from the get-go. And I think we're actually what I'm seeing is we're having far better output because of that, because we're building the security in the process along the way.
Well, it's great to see that pendulum swinging in that direction. We've needed it for a long time, but I really appreciate it. Dave Dalling and Ron Bushar, thank you for sharing some of your insights on where we are with security and how that really is helping enable the mission outcomes for agencies. So thanks for being with us.
Thanks, great. Thank you so much.